checkity that bad boy out. It's the first ever limited edition, high quality, comfortable feel, versatile, supernatural strength channel, hardcore arm wrestling shirt. I say versatile, it can be worn in so many scenarios, whether skiing, drinking beer, watching birds, watching football, street fighting, shagging or cow tipping. Yes, anytime, any occasion. And if you want one, ladies and gents, guess what? Links in the description. As you might expect, not necessarily the most technically efficient people in the world. Copy and paste that link into your browser, get it ordered. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Armwrestling Old School. Neil Pick Up the Fat Lab with you in the mother fluffing house, and one more time, I'm joined by my co-presenters on this show, Mr. Bobby Brown in the house, looking sexy, still got it.
That's right.
Just weighing up whether he should go out to Hawthorne, Nevada and kick some ass.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Time to train and everything.
I don't know if it'll work.
When is it, May?
I think it's May 15th, and my plan right now is to make the 185s. I've got quite a bit of weight to lose to do that, and then I'm gonna enter the open division. I'm not gonna pull masters.
Jesus, 185, yeah, that'll be good. I've got a tit that weighs 187. Yeah, I remember them days, mate. I do. Now then, who else we got on this show? I'll tell you who else we got on this show. We got the Canadian Arm Wrestling Library, the archive of arm wrestling. Eric Roussin's on here. This is the man, this is the guy. Put together the armwrestlingarchive.com, and that's what birthed this show. That's what it's all about. And Eric, where are we up to, brother?
Well, last time we talked about Yukon Jack and how that was the big event of the early to mid 90s. You know, if you wanted to prove you were the best pro arm wrestler, that's where you did it. Unfortunately, 96 was the last year they had a big pro tournament, and then for another year they went the amateur route. So the sport was lacking all of us a major, annual event. Who stepped up? Well, Elaine and Joel Blick out of Idaho.
Oh, yeah.
They were able to arrange the first main event in March 97, and this was a $25,000 cash prize tournament. I believe it was held on an Indian reservation or near an Indian reservation.
Yeah, Pocatello, Idaho, on an Indian reservation.
No, technically it was Blackfoot, Idaho, just outside of Pocatello, because Blackfoot Indian reservation.
Mm-hmm.
And what was great about that is they had almost all of the WAF weight classes, and so and money for the top 4, even top 5, I believe, in every single class, right and left. So that was that appealed to a lot of people.
Yeah.
The turnout was tremendous. Neil, did you go to the 97 event? I know you went to one of those.
I went both years, mate.
You went both years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, both years.
You know how stacked those tournaments were.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
I'm going to forewarn you guys. I have some really hilarious stories about that event involving Mike Solaris and Jason Vale.
Really?
I can tell them right now if you like.
Let's do it, mate.
Yeah.
Because I'll never forget. I can't remember which year, but the year where Jason Vale chose to wear the surfer shirt with the dungarees.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah.
But the dungarees were undone at one side. He had one side of the dungarees undone. It was quite a good look from Jason.
I'm pretty sure it was the first year, and I'm not sure which year, but both of them guys, along with others, stay in my house. The night before, it's about a 2.5 hour drive away from the house. Well, if you know Jason Vale, he's legendary for being late to everything. I mean, if a tournament starts at 1:00, he doesn't even show up till 1:30, and then begs to get in the event. So it's time to leave the house. We got to get on the road. And me, I'm quite the opposite. If we're supposed to leave at 1:00, I'm ready to leave at 12:30. And at 1:01, I'm leaving your ass. So here it is, time to leave. Everyone's ready. Bags in the car. Jason has locked himself in the bedroom. Literally locked himself in the bedroom. He won't come out. I'm like, what the frick is your problem, buddy? And it was a big to-do. Me and Mike Celieres had to drag his ass out of the frickin' room to get him in the car to start driving up there. And the whole time he was in the weight class that Bill Brzenk was in.
Mm-hmm.
And he found out, because he thought Bill and John were going to be in the same class. Well, he found out John was going to pull up a class, but I forget which way it was, Bill or John.
John pulled 187s though, didn't he? John pulled the class with Vail.
Yes. No, that's because Vail jumped out of his class to specifically go into John's class. He wanted to pull John, period. Mm-hmm. And during that day, that was the funny story. During that day, I told John, because now I've been living there for a few years and training with John. And, of course, I've known Jason Vail from, years gone by when I used to kick his ass all the time. And then that abruptly stopped. But I told John, I'm like, look, Jason's really good in the straps. I wouldn't go in the straps with him. So, very first match, ready, go, slip. They go into the straps. John finds himself in a war.
Yeah, Jason's. I remember that very well.
And then John wins. And John comes down off the table. He walks right by me. And as he's walking by me, John goes, that dude is a totally different human being in the straps.
Yeah, he is.
I said, I told you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then in the finals, John didn't slip with him. He clamped onto his thumb and just pushed his thumb down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Vail was one of the best strap pullers, if not the best strap puller I've ever seen.
In my mind, if you compared him outside the straps to inside the straps, then there's, in my opinion, no question he's the best strap puller that's ever lived. When you compare how he wasn't that good outside the straps. But his arm and back pressure and wrist were so freaking strong. Yeah, in the straps, he was amazing.
Yeah, he really was. Great arm wrestler.
The pullers who went out to that very first tournament, I mean, I'll just read through the list of the right-hand class winners. Engin Terzi, 132. Craig Tellier in the 143. Marc Gauthier from Quebec, 154. Kevin Bongard, 65. I don't know how. 160. Oh, no, sorry. It was 176.
76. 176. My class.
Yeah, 176. Kevin, John won 187, which was that was sort of a light tournament for John. He hadn't been that weight in a while, I don't think.
Yeah.
Bill won the 198s. Ron won the 220s. Jerry Carteret won the 242s. And I know quite people have asked this question about who has been the tallest arm wrestler.
Yes.
Of those who have competed and won major tournaments, I would say it's Paulo da Silva, who is 7'2".
Yes.
Who became the WWE wrestler Giant Silva.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was so big. So big.
Now, the day before, some of the guys there, me being one of them, we pulled both days. And this is when you're, like back in the day where you didn't give a shit how often you pulled. And I've done this before Worlds as well, which is quite ridiculous when you think back, but pulled the trophy classes all day, pulled because I thought, well, we're going to America, we're arm wrestling, end off. They wouldn't let us pull up a class. So he said, I want to go up a class. No. You can pull your class, that's it. Oh, okay. So we're going to class. Then that night, after the show, we were all pulling.
Oh, yeah.
In the pub. We're pulling in the bar after having pulled all day, and then pulled again the next day. And never thought, yeah, it's alright. Ace. What I wouldn't give to have an elbow like that now.
How many nationals have I gone to, and you see a lot of people arm wrestling hard after weigh-ins the night before the nationals? And I walk by and I'm like, you guys got to arm wrestle tomorrow in the nationals, right?
Yeah. Absolute class. I had a similar situation in 2000. I think it was it 2000? Yeah, 2000, Virginia Beach World, right? Cobra, myself, Kurt Niazi, mucking around, drunk. Well, myself and Cobra were. Niazi wasn't. Myself and Cobra, pretty much
leathered the night before Worlds, mucking about in the bar. What were we thinking?
It doesn't surprise me with Cobra. I'm a little disappointed in you there, Neil.
I'm going to say that Andrew was a bad influence on me. I'm going to say. Yeah.
I can tell you that there have been times in England where Andrew was not a great influence on me either.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yes. The Clyde days.
Yeah, wayward lad.
Yeah.
Led me astray, Cobra, you bastard. Led me astray. Anyway, it's good times. Anyway, let's get back onto it. 97.
Based on that, the success of that very first event, it was even bigger and better in 98. They've upped the prize money to $38,000. Now, $38,000 was the biggest cash event ever since Over the Top. So in the 12 years that elapsed, that was they set the next highest amount. Once again, even higher cash prizes, almost all the WAF classes. In total, they had over 430 entries across the whole tournament. A lot of the same names attended and a lot of the same people finished at the top of the standings. But, it was even poised to keep going. And then some people asked, what happened to the main event? It wasn't a loss of sponsorship. It was a loss of, their contact. So Joel and Elaine's contact, in the tribe, who had been pushing since the beginning and wanted to grow. He was actually murdered, the year after. And, sort of the person who, I don't have the details about that, but the person who became the new person they had to deal with was not interested in arm wrestling. So it just ended right there. So it's not like, it was too bad because that tournament was
mega
on an upward trajectory. I mean,
right. Wow.
Yeah, but another big event, happened later that fall. So that was a $38,000 event. Forza Tropical in Curacao, $40,000 in November 98. So that event, so this was, I think, someone with the radio station wanted to promote arm wrestling. He got hooked up with a casino in Curacao and they said, all right, they contacted Leonard and Denise to organize the event. $40,000 cash prizes, and like $4,500 per each right hand class, $2,500 per each left hand class, and the women's. It was a huge attraction. But what happened? It attracted a lot of the very best. Sorry, some of the very best, but that's it. There were in total 50 to 60 pullers in attendance. So, did either of you attend that one?
No. And for the same reason that a lot of other guys didn't attend is when you only pay down the third place and there's 3 guys that are coming to your class that you can't beat and it's going to cost a lot of money to get there, you're not going to go.
Yeah.
What happens is that's exactly what happened. I mean, I think specifically in the women, I honestly think there was only 2 legitimate female arm wrestlers that showed up.
There was one.
One. And I know that Renee Brzenk, John's wife, and Lisa Brzenk, Bill's wife, both entered just because they knew they were going to get second and third and win money.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't anyone do that? Of course.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that was in a time when if I didn't think I was going to win money, I couldn't go.
The date was a shocker, though, wasn't it? Like, what was the date again, Eric?
Early November. It was right around the time of the WAF Worlds.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sure that I was going to go, and the WAF Worlds were like weeks away.
Yeah, it was within the same. Yeah, it was organized pretty quickly, and I think even Leonard said that they sort of overestimated the draw. They thought everyone's going to be there. It is everything you just said, Bob. It's still expensive, and if you don't think you're going to get place, it's a hard trip to justify. But some of the stories from that event of the people who showed, here's interesting. John pulled in the 198 class, right hand, 198 left, and then he pulled the super, so 243 plus right hand.
Right.
The first right hand match in the 198s loses to Sylvain Perron, right hand. So at under 200 pounds, John didn't lose very often in his weight class, right hand. First match in the supers, he loses to Ron Bath. So his first 2 matches in both classes, John lost to his opponents. But he came back and beat them all and took first place in both right-hand classes. And on the left hand, what was surprising is he matched up against Sylvain. Sylvain at that time would typically beat John left-handed, but that day, John beat Sylvain left-handed. So everything was a little reversed.
Wow.
But, John won 3 classes.
Sounds like the guy we know and love.
In in his left-hand match, or one of his left-hand matches with Sylvain, he actually broke one of Sylvain's fingers. I think it may have been his thumb. That's how intense that match was.
Wow.
And then a story that I heard about Sylvain, right hand, was after he beat John in the first match, right hand, John wanted to talk to his brother Bill, who was in the same class, telling Bill what to do against Sylvain. Mm-hmm. Bill faced Sylvain. Sylvain smashed Bill. So Sylvain got both Brzenk brothers back to back. So that was pretty special.
Wow.
Yeah, that's some accolade. I mean, people don't realize how good a puller Sylvain Perron was. I mean, he was just a phenomenal arm wrestler in his day.
Yeah.
You know, pulled a very similar style to Sasho Andreev as well. That sort of hard, supinated, palm down, sideways motion. Really, really hard to beat. What a lovely guy as well. Humble.
Other guys who did go and made money. Dave Hicks was there. Kenny Hughes. Svetlana Gashevsky easily won the right 154. Mm-hmm. Kevin Bongard. Cobra. John, Bill, Sylvain, Ron Bath, Dan Victor, Trent Meyer, Eric Wolfell. I mean, it was a stacked the classes weren't big, but the talent was very, very intense. As we mentioned, Mark Zalep was the only real pro arm wrestler. So all the wives jumped in and left with probably a few $1,000s each.
It's that sort of engaging story, isn't it? You know, what people have said for a long period of time, that you may or may not get a lot of arm wrestlers if you put on big money. Some people say, oh yeah, you could do $1 million tournament, £1 million tournament. And so many people would show up and, would they?
You got to do if you go to the Idaho was lacking a bit in terms of the location, but they had all the classes and they were paying down pretty far. That's what you got to pay down the line, offer a lot of classes and be in Vegas or some location like that. Right. And then you can get
that's the key. And I've told, they did a big tournament, John Bergeson and, Dave Devoto maybe did a big tournament in Vegas. I told him, if you don't pay down to 8th place, and I don't care if 8th place is just simply getting your entry fee back.
Yep.
If you don't pay down to 8th place, you're never going to get the masses of people to show up ever. Because if you're in the heavyweight division and Brzenk, Badgett, and Richard Lupke say they're coming, no one else shows up because they can't win. But even, you pay down to 8th place, and all of a sudden, there's a lot of really good arm wrestlers that are not monster elite arm wrestlers that think, oh, heck, I can get 6th place. I can get 5th place and win a few $100. And all of a sudden, it's weird. They will now spend $700 knowing that what they're chasing is like $200. But if they think they can get a little bit, they'll go. But if they don't, they won't. So, but that's what people need to do for big events, in my opinion.
And
a little bit of promotional advice. You got that one for nothing.
Yes.
So unfortunately, the turnout for the Curacao event led it to being a one-hit wonder. They never did another one. So 99 didn't have any big money annual events. So we're still looking, what's the next big thing? But, in Russia, the Golden Bear had been growing for 10 years. At that point, the second half of the 90s, it had become a very, very difficult tournament to win. It wasn't always, especially in the last few years, it didn't get a lot of non-Eastern European pullers. Mm-hmm. But the production value of those events, was very, very high. I was speaking to Bill Collins. You had gone, Bob? Did you ever go to?
I went in 94, with, John Brzenk, Bill Brzenk, Kevin Bongard, Trenton Meyer, myself, Dave Hicks was there. I know
Ray Dahl in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did in 94, but Bill Collins was telling me that in 95, they would lower the arm wrestling table from the ceiling. just for a spectacle, it seemed like it would have been a cool thing to see.
Yeah, what we did, ours was in what I'm going to call the equivalent of a movie theater, or a high school production play where the seats were tiered up. It had a big stage, and that's where all the preliminaries were. But when we got down to the finals, it went into what I assume was like almost a circus arena. It was completely circular. The stage was down on the floor, so you're looking down on the stage, but the seating was so tiered. And they put on a dance show, Arabic show. That's not a right word. And a huge production. It was amazing. It was a once in a lifetime experience. It was great. And that's where I completely messed up the entire world of arm wrestling, because I arm wrestled Hajimir Zolof's uncle, and Kevin arm wrestled his father, and then I made the mistake of teaching Haji's uncle, the Crushing Russian, some workout tips. So it's my fault that Russia's so good.
So you're the bastard that stopped me getting the world title, my first world title in 90.
I am the bastard that.
Thanks for that, mate.
After the tournament, what was it? Kazbak,
the Crushing Russian,
he came up to me and he was asking me, what kind of workouts do you do? And, how do you train your hand? How do you train your wrist? And I showed him just a few things that, me and John did, and they ran with it.
Yeah. And what a legacy. He's gone into an Olympic strength coach now, hasn't he?
Yes.
John did go back again in 98. And there's some interesting matches happened there. So he pulled the regular tournament. I think it was on the Friday or Saturday. And then he pulled the big money super match, special tournament on the Sunday. And he lost twice that day to Alan Karyev.
Yes.
Who did not pull in the regular tournament. So it's hard to do the comparisons, right?
Right.
And those are the only two matches he ever pulled with Alan. But I know that, I think John lost the first match relatively.
Didn't he have a real screamer though with Erekli Gurkiani?
Yes, it's right before,
Before Karyev got all the credit for it, but Erekli Gurkiani, who had a period of time when he was
right.
Took a load of steam out of John, didn't he?
Oh yeah. So, just a little funny story on that one. I was not there. Robert Baxter was there. And when John lost to Alan the first time, he basically walked and told the people on his team, don't worry, I got him next time. And because there was some betting going on. People were betting. Well, then John had that match with Erekli, or his name right? And it was a war to end all war. So now he's got to go up against Alan. And John's walking out on the stage just telling everyone, no bet, don't bet, no, nothing. Because John knew that he was, dead. And otherwise, in my opinion, it's always an opinion. I think John would have beaten Alan easily if he was fresh. But Erekli, he could, they were fresh. Those two were fresh and had a war. And John wasn't screwing around. I think John just grabbed a hold of Alan and thought, I'm going to hook him. It's going to be over. And it wasn't. He got surprised. Mm-hmm. But going against Erekli, he was not being surprised at all. He was firing on all pistons and had that war.
Yeah. And at that time, Erekli Gurkiani was a beast. A number of the Georgians, Laptan Shavakadze, Animal, there was a number of, David Chiradze. Back then they had some beasts. Georgia have always had monsters, but they had a team of animals back then, and Erekli was special dude.
Oh yeah.
And those guys, the guys you just mentioned and Alan, they were definitely part of the conversation as the best on the planet at that point in time.
Mm.
Yeah. They were in the conversation. They were winning laughs. They were winning a lot of things. And they'd go back and forth.
Yes.
Another event that started in 98 was the Arnold Classic. So the Arnold Classic It was initially just sort of a small exhibition. It wasn't a big thing. But when Fairfax Hackley, who's the promoter or the organizer of the Arnold, got in touch with Bob O'Leary, and they knew each other from bodybuilding days. So they had known each other for many, many years. And Fairfax knew that Bob was, head of the AAA. So he said, we would like to get arm wrestling into the Arnold Classic. So then they came up with the idea, how do we select? We don't want it to be a big event, but we want the caliber to be high. So they ended up inviting the top two finishers, from the 97 AAA Nationals. So the top two finishers in every right-hand class were invited. And then those who accepted, attended. It was a single elimination the first year. Single elimination tournament, the Arnold Classic. Only 3 weight classes, light, middle, heavy, and Cobra won the lightweights, Robert Redden won the middleweights, and Terry Cadorette won the inaugural super heavyweight class. And that event went on to become, a staple in the North American annual big tournaments. The money initially wasn't huge, but it became decent. In the early 2000s, it was about $15,000 in prize money. And then it was double elimination from 99 onward. So only the single year for single elimination.
Robert Redden. Whatever happened to Robert Redden?
Yeah, he was pretty well balanced, I think.
Oh, mate, he's a great arm wrestler.
Huh.
I know when he split with his lady, I never saw him again after that, but yeah. What a good arm wrestler that was. We just lost Bob momentarily. Yeah, what a great arm wrestler he was, Redden. Absolutely solid. Very, very rigid. And he was the guy that really helped create Craig Touye.
Oh, really?
Craig Touye came up through that camp. And in the early days of Craig, you could really see that style in him. I pulled Craig. Only time I've ever met in tournament, I pulled Craig over at an event in Louisiana. I was weighing 65 back at that time. I used to pull 76s. I weighed in that day I think I was 167 pounds. Craig was in the 154s. And he pulled the 65. So it was I was pulling 76s, he was pulling 65s. And we met that day in the open. And the striking thing about Craig's style was he was so similar to Robert. Because I was very familiar with pulling Robert. Robert was in the 98/220s that day. And it was like a miniature version of him. Extremely rigid, his movements, everything. Just like it was Redden in miniature. It was really good. They'd obviously put an enormous amount of time into the training, and the whole team sort of emulated Robert. And Robert was very, very good in all areas. Could pull a great hook, had a huge hand, very long forearm, made for the game. Extremely explosive. Good arm wrestler. Really good arm wrestler. And myself and Nigel Cawthorne went over there. Nigel Shag from the UK went over there. Nigel was at the main events as well. Had an absolute screamer with Sylvain Perron. Nigel Cawthorne. So, in a hook for about a minute and a half. And Nigel had pulled the day before as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but very, very, very solid puller. But we were over there at that tournament in Louisiana. Oh, good memories, these guys. Tell you what. Yeah, all good stuff. Anyway, I digress.
So in terms of the big money events, those are the ones that stand out to me from the late 90s. But what's interesting is with the World Arm Wrestling Federation, the split that occurred in 98. So, I've heard both sides. Unless you were actually there, it's hard to know exactly how things transpired. But I think one of the key elements was that it had been decided that Canada would host the 98 Worlds. And then another decision was made, though, no, the 98 Worlds are going to Egypt. And that led to a fracture. Unfortunately, so between 98 and about 7-year periods, there were 2 WAFs that were operating World Championships. I think most people agree that the first 5 years or so, the WAF, that the World Arm Sport Federation, the one that went to Egypt and then Russia and all that, was probably the tougher one to win in the first 5 years or so.
Definitely.
And it took a little while for the new split, the World Arm Wrestling Federation, to grow. By around Ottawa 2003 is probably when the balance started to shift.
I think the worst thing about the split The real thing that was annoying about the split there was the fact that, also, interesting point you make there about it being more difficult or less difficult. The funny thing was, when you went to the tournaments, a lot of guys attended both.
Okay.
Some of the top lads went to both organisations, except Egypt.
Okay.
And the reason was because at that time, England, for example, Germany, some other countries, you couldn't travel to Egypt because it was on like a, you know, when you get a tourism advice on you're banned to go there, or they advise you not to go there because of terrorist risk.
Right.
They did the Worlds took place in '98 in Egypt at the same time that there was some kind of major threat on or terrorist threat from some of the Western countries, and they advised you not to go.
Okay.
And it was super, super frustrating. Obviously that was just 1 year, and then the next year was the famous Vladikavkaz tournament where, I mean, Cobra there, my God, you know, on fire. But it was just frustrating at that time because it was almost the same situation as you see now with the split, where 99% of arm wrestlers were just pissed off that it had happened, because suddenly it was like, you want to go and you want to compete everywhere, and now you've sort of got to spend, you know, I mean, it cost me a lot of money trying to, you're attending both World Championships, it's a lot of money. Time off work, you know.
But it's just the good thing is it's not like today where you were actually allowed, both organizations were accepting you. Like right now, if you go to IFA, you cannot go to WAP, right? So you're forced to pick right now.
I attended both tournaments a number of times, and you never got any, you know, they never, oh yeah, you went to this place. They didn't, it's off, they were just like, okay, yeah, fine, no problem. You went, you arm wrestled, job done.
Right.
But sometimes you go there and, like, you know, it was a talk, it was hanging one of the guys the other day, and they're saying, you'd go and the same dudes would be in both competitions, but obviously it's costing you double. You're having to take 2 weeks off holiday, because they're full week events, you know, your weigh-ins. And at that time, they hadn't leaned it out like they have now, where you could have your weigh-in would be maybe the Friday. In fact, it was, a lot of people used to be it was great for me, because if I was dropping weight, and then you weigh in on the Monday, and not compete till the Friday, I might have weighed 198 by the time I arm wrestled.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Not the case now, but you could then, you know?
Right.
So, it's just frustrating that so many times politically, arm wrestlers end up getting stung by that kind of thing, because it is a significant investment, you know? You spend the money, you're taking time away from your family, time off work, which is the biggest thing that 99% of people can't do.
Right.
And you train your ass off to be the best in the world and to go and prove it, or at least have the opportunity to go and see where you lie. And then through no fault of your own, that split creates an absolute cock-up. And I'm really frustrated now with the situation where we've got with IFA and WF again.
Right.
If you're somebody like the Swedish ladies, it's terrible.
Yes.
Because your main competitors are now, you never get to arm wrestle them.
Right.
You're a dominant nation, and all the other ladies' dominant nations are pulling in the bloody different federations. So, beyond frustrating.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Anyway.
The you know, Cobra's performance in Russia in '99. So, do you know, Neil, when did they stop doing that sort of overall, or whatever they would call it, the like an overall title at the end of the Worlds?
We did it. I know we did it definitely up to 2001. Did we do it in Springfield? I don't think they did it in 2002 Springfield. Didn't do it in 2003 that I'm aware of in Ottawa.
No.
I want to say maybe the last time I saw it was Italy.
Okay.
It was La Corregata, Italy, 2001. And that was ace. I mean, you got some good stuff there. Got to pull with Gennady Fadzinov, Taras. We're in there. It was, it was, you know, I loved it. I used to think it was a nice showpiece. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily that you would put too much in it. I'm not going to say necessarily. You didn't put so much stall in it because, you know, in Italy there was probably 40 odd people in my class, 35 to 40 people in the class. So you finished the Worlds, you were knackered, you know.
Right.
Nobody gives a shit. You still, you know, I won the class there in the 85s, and then they come up and say, oh, Neil, you're pulling the overalls. Bet you're an arse, I am. Absolutely. Because it's on, innit? So, yeah. You go and you pull. And it's just a fun... There was no formality or pressure about it. It's just, let's go. You know, which is what it was all about. And it was sort of like, almost like a blowout before the blowout, where everybody could just say, oh, I'd love to see these guys just go at it. Right. And it was fun. It was ace. I wish they'd bring that back, actually. I still love it. I remember Geneva 1992 may have been my favourite ever world overalls. It was absolute class. You had just, I remember, oh, mate, there was one match. Oh, God. I want to say it was Kurt Kvikstad of Norway. And I think he pulled Serge Usero. I want to say Serge Usero, Kurt Kvikstad. And they were in a hook. And both those guys were like that hook to death style, you know? When you're like shoulders on it to the point where something's going to go. They're both, and you know when a hook match develops into that stupid position where both guys have clearly lost all feeling in their hand? Right. Their hand's just giving up, but they're just throwing the shoulder on it. It was an unbelievable hook battle. I don't know, I'd love to see footage of that. I don't know how long it went on. If anybody's got footage of that, please send it to Eric or post it or something, because I'll tell you what, it was phenomenal. Must have been 2-minute screamer. But it was flat out. From the moment the thing hit the hook to the I think Kurt Kvikstad won it.
Oh, Kurt won it, yeah.
But it was amazing.
Wow.
Absolute quality. And in the same tournament, there were so many matches like that were in that year in the Open. Another great one, there was an Israeli kid. Used to call him Baby Sharon. You remember him, Bob? Nir Harel.
I can tell I remember the name Baby Sharon.
90 kilo, absolutely strong as hell, great guy. Came stopped at my house, actually, lovely bloke. Very, very powerful through the wrist and hand. He pulled Cobra. Cobra had won 65s, I think. Nir Harel won 198. Amazing battle again. Nir Harel got in control, was stronger man. Cobra, more experienced and better arm wrestler. Stopped him, stretched out as he does, you know, walked the hand, brought it back centre, jumped on him. Just great. Absolute quality. But there were a number of matches like that in that Open class that were just quality.
You don't remember
the makings of it. Sharon won it.
Sharon won it?
Yeah, Remes won it. Mate, at that time, anywhere around there, 92, honestly, Sharon, Jesus.
Yeah.
Obnoxious strong. Wrist is frightening.
Yep. Yep.
Good times. Yeah.
Wow.
The 99 worlds that were in Japan, the World Armwrestling Federation worlds. So they had that super match right hand. I think you had to pull at least one class.
Yeah.
So John went that year.
I was there.
Title. He won the left 220, the left 100 kilo ahead of Ron and Devin, and then he got to pull for the money for I think he got $5,000 for that. And in the final, he was with Babyface Ibrahimov.
Ibrahim bust Ron bicep tendon, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Ron got injured. Good there, didn't he?
Oh.
Yeah. That's the year that I, stupidly enough, tried to do a push-up contest with Devin Lorette.
In those years, you wouldn't have wanted to do that.
No. I did. And he's like, okay, I'm going to do 10 while you hold in the up position, and then I'll do 10. And, you know, you just have to hold in the up position while the other guy was doing 10 push-ups.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I'm going to, I can rattle up 100 push-ups here, no problem. I'm going to kill this guy. Yeah, no. So we got to about 70 push-ups, and I'm starting to get tired. I'm not used to this holding in the up position thing. And I said, hey, man, how many think you got left in you? And he goes, well, the last time I did this, I did 1,412. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, quit, done. It's also the year that I think it was John Brzenk's dad was there. and we were doing pull-ups on this little lip.
In the Marriott Hotel.
Yeah. And he ended up falling and like hurting his knee or something.
Yeah.
It's also in my opinion, the beginning of the abomination with Devin Lorette, because that's where he discovered freedom arm wrestling. Do you remember they did that, Neil?
Yeah.
Yes.
They did it over the table.
Yeah.
There were no rules, and that's what they did in Japan. And I'm like, oh dear Lord, this is terrible. It's terrible.
Mate, that was a good competition, though.
Oh, it was amazing.
That was an absolute quality competition. I think it was awesome, but it had that sort of really, really good showbiz feel about it, didn't it? It's absolute quality. You know, the Kanai brothers on absolute fire there. Either first or second round match with Kanai was an absolute screamer. And on the first start, I got his ass and I got a foul. And I hated Dick Hicks. Dick Hicks, I came up and Dick Hicks and I fouled. And I'm like, no, you know, and I'm like, no, I can't do that again.
Yeah.
And we went again, another stupid match. Oh my God. They were good times though. Absolute quality tournament. But in the open class there, right? A mate of mine, Andy Barker, pulls Mike Gould. And Andy's got second in the 154. And I said, mate, you are in deep shit. You got Mike next up, right? So he decides, he says, yeah, but I'm going to go super fast. I said, yeah, good luck with that. He gets up there and he goes off on him like an absolute rocket, but he goes on he goes like, and Andy's gone, oh, hit a brick wall. You know, just an absolute brick wall. I don't know, Mike was probably like 300 pounds at the time, you know, and very ready. And you could see Andy, he didn't move, and Andy looked at him like, oh shit, that wasn't great. And I just remember Mike Gould looking over the table at him and he went, better to go first than not at all. I loved it. I thought, oh, you are.
That's funny. That's funny.
That would have been, in my opinion, that's probably peak Mike Gould. Like that, he won the world's left hand that year, and he was strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely solid at that time. Good dude, Mike Gould. That was a good year, fun year. Really, one of my favourite worlds ever. Whole experience of that was excellent.
Yes.
99.
Yes, fun.
So.
I was just going to add a little tidbit about the 1400 push-up thing. Did you hear the full story about that, Bob?
Probably not. He just told me
Can I ask, is it the urban legend one about the bike?
That's true. Yeah. So he was with his buddies, and at that time he was, you know, in the military for a few years, but in the years that you do a lot of push-ups, he basically trained himself to the point where he can do them indefinitely. So he was at a party and he said, I bet you I can do 10 times as many as the best among you. And then people were like, well, they knew that a few guys could do over 100, so they all pooled the money together, and the best guy was able to do 140. So then Devin, over the course of about 2 hours, did 1,400 of them. Like Bob said, sometimes he would pause sort of in the up position with and then or go on one hand, which to me is not, you can't really rest, but he was able to do it, and he would never break form, full push-ups. And yeah, he made enough money to buy, I think, a used motorcycle.
Yeah.
Somebody, and I'm going to say, I'm blaming Mike Gould. I think it was Mike Gould told me an urban legend, the coolest urban legend about Devin Larratt. May or may not be true, but I love it anyway. So I'm going to tell you the urban legend. This is the Devin Larratt urban legend. So we're at a show, and I'm like semi-hammered. And he says, hey, you know about Devin? I'm like, come on. He said, well, he likes to do like military Ironmans, and he wanted a new bicycle, right? So he wanted to get this bike, and he goes into a shop, and this guy says to him, oh, I'll show you this bike. He said, how much is that bike over there? And it's a really expensive bike. And Devin says, he says, I'm pretty good at it. And the guy says, how good are you? He said, oh, I'm a fit guy, I can do this. He said, how many push-ups can you do? And he said, I don't know, maybe 1,100. Something like that. And the guy said, She said, like, yeah, I'll tell you what, you do 1,100 pull-ups, you can have the bike. And so he did 1,100 pull-ups, and the guy had to sort of
pull-ups.
Pull-ups or
excuse me, push-ups.
Oh, push-ups. Okay.
So he did the push-ups, and the guy had to give him the bike. So that was the first time I heard that sort of urban legend about it. And I remember I did a podcast with him. I want to say it was here when he came over for one of the Arm Wars gigs. And I remember saying to him that he'd been on a tour of Sweden, like pretty much then, a couple of weeks before. And I said, oh, heard this urban legend. And typical Devon, he sort of like laughed it off. He said, some of the details are a bit sketchy and different things which have been recreated. He said, but I did go to, when I was over in Sweden, he'd be pulling with clubs and stuff like that. And he did almost the same thing that he said to you there, Eric. He basically said, well, how many pull-ups can anybody do who's here? One of the kids was a pretty fit lad, and I think he did 165 pull-ups.
Push-ups.
Push-ups, and Devon had said, I'll do 10 times what you do, and he did.
Yeah.
And I said, that is incredible. And he said, yeah, well, I had to stop because I needed a shit. How long were you doing it? He said, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But for a man that big.
Yeah, you don't hear many guys. He weighs about 220, 225 in those days. So not many men, people who have these records are usually 140 pounds, so.
Yeah. It's an incredible feat of strength, isn't it?
Yeah.
And push-ups and Devon's frame are not conducive, you would think.
Yeah.
Such long levers. You'd think
levers.
somebody with shorter levers, wide chest. Yeah. No. Remarkable.
So back to that Worlds in Japan, the one that John came and, won the right hand. So after weigh-ins, me and John and Robert Baxter decide to go out with the team and, get some food or do whatever. Well, we decide we're going to go exploring, so we're exploring. Well, what people don't know is John likes to walk. John will walk great distances, for working out. He likes to walk. So he decided we're going to walk back from wherever we're at. And so we asked directions, which way to go, and in our broken English in Japan, and they keep pointing to like the subway, or the train system. No, we're going to walk. We walk about a mile. We ask someone which way to go. They keep pointing towards the train system. Now this whole time, we decided that, John said he's a really good sprinter, and I'm like, no, I'm a really good sprinter. Robert Baxter, no, I'm a really good sprinter. And we decided to have like 50-yard and 100-yard dash races the whole way back. And it ended up being like 10 miles is how far we ended up needing to actually go. And I can tell you that of the three of us, John is the fastest, then Robert Baxter, and I'm the slowest. And we had these, but we raced, I can't tell you how many times. Well, the next day we wake up, and of course we've got to arm wrestle, and we couldn't walk. Me, John, Robert, our legs are wasted dead. We can't walk, all because John felt like walking back to frickin', and someone sparked up about how fast they were, and I was like, son of a bitch.
It's absolute class how you get into doing stuff like that, isn't it? I was over at an event
imagine that. You've got 3 USA guys, right? And Robert's a pretty tall guy. John's over 6. I'm the munchkin. Yet these 3 Americans foot racing through Japan at 100-meter increments, walk for 500 yards, race again, race again, walk again. Oh my God, we must have looked like morons.
I'll tell you what. Were any of you wearing like sports shoes, or did you just have anything?
Just whatever sport,
whatever.
Shoes.
Yeah. Those like nice going out shoes with no grip on the bottom.
Yeah, no.
Like slipping all over when you're trying to slow down. Absolutely.
I'm sure they're all sneakers, but it was just insane,
I went to an event in Sweden, okay, and the dude, very, very solid puller there, 100-kilo guy called Johan Lindholm, right? You know Johan Lindholm?
Yep.
So Johan Lindholm comes up with some stupid idea. I don't know how I got talked into this, and he says, right, I'm really good at swimming, and I've had a couple of shandies. So I'm feeling quite, like I'm invincible on so many levels. And I said, I'm a good swimmer. And he's right, okay. So where do you swim? I swim anywhere. Right, okay. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go out now. We'll swim across this frigging river that's outside. And I'm like, and this is like January or February. I'm like, you'd like die. He's like, nah, bullshit. You're fine. It's probably like 7 feet deep or something. He says, it's not bad. And I'm like, yeah, you go first. Anyway, he only did. Absolute bastard went first, didn't he? So I'm like, oh no. And then the guys who are in there with us are like, oh, right, Neil, you gotta go. I'm like, when you really don't wish that somebody called you bluff. And I'm like, oh. I remember he came back up to the pub that we're in a pub. So we had to literally just pile your clothes up, literally took her clothes off, put a beer down, took your clothes off, put your shoes and your socks, and they were like, go on, in you go. So I'm like, fuck. I go down, climb down these like rusty ass steps down this and into the river. And when you hit oh my God, it was freezing. So I set off, blasted across, blasted back, just got myself like used to the cold for a second so I know I wasn't going to die. And then off you go. Came back, mate, what a terrible idea that was. I spent the next like 2 hours as a woman. I'm like, oh my God, I needed a piss an hour later and I had to go and like finger myself. I can't find where my dick was. It was terrible. Honestly, it was the coldest experience ever. Mate, just not a good look. Back in there, Johan Lindholm, you son of a bitch.
That's funny. That's funny. Young, dumb, and stupid.
I've had some terrible experiences in Sweden. Another day over in Sweden, we went to an event, I think it was the European Championships. We'd gone over there, and Marlon Kleinsmith told me how tough she is, right? She's like, oh, I'm really, really tough. And I'm like, okay. And she said, we have a tradition in Sweden where we'll fight we'll just fight for fun. We have this game called Get Off Me.
Oh no.
And it's the first person to say get off me, loses. And I'm like, okay. But Marlon at that time's a bit of a honey, like, and I'm thinking to myself, how bad can this be? Bad. Let me go, that's not bad. She will inflict like real pain on you. You know what I mean? So anyway, we put it down, and the next event is she said, right, I'll fight you in that fountain. And I said, in the fountain? She said, I'll fight you in the fountain. So she runs into this fountain, and she takes off like the jacket that she's wearing, and she's gonna whip you in the fountain. So I'm like, okay, I ain't got no jacket on, so I just took my shirt off, like a t-shirt. We get into that. She beat the piss out of me with a jacket. Just, like with a zip on the jacket, you get cracked with a zip. Drunk as hell, smashed me to bits in the fountain. I was like, oh, yeah.
Please tell me someone has video of this.
Quite possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if Patrick Nell hasn't, but I'll tell you what it is, I got an ass whipping. He's like a professional fountain fighter.
Oh, talk about raising your brand. If you put that video out of you getting pistol whipped with a jacket in the fountain by hot Swede people, that's going to go viral.
Like you were trying to hold, you were thinking, oh, I'll hold back a little. She didn't hold back.
No.
She whipped my ass.
Yes.
That was bad. Yeah. I've had some bad experiences in Sweden. I don't know why I like Swedes. Terrible place to go. Sweden's dangerous. Even on my most recent visit out there, I went to stay with Anders Acklo. Did a pike fishing out there. And then he says, oh yeah, we've got this Swedish tradition where we go into like a sauna. And he lives on this place that he's got over there near Vastavik. It's like something off a postcard. It's an absolutely unbelievable place. Literally the most picturesque place you can possibly imagine. And on the shore of the lake, they've made like a little wooden sauna. And to get in there, And you're in the sauna for a while, and then his wife comes in, and they have a branch of a tree. This is for real. This happens, right? Come in with a branch of a tree, and they will smack the fuck out of the tree. They like turn you back, leather you with the tree, you go hiding with the tree, and then after 5 minutes, you go down to the lake, and they just pile in the lake. Now, that is actually really good. I can say that's a great, this was summer. That was like, I don't know, May or June or something. It was nice, it was nice. But that was like but it's a Swedish tradition. That's what they do. Get in the sauna, batter each other with a part of a tree, jump in the lake. Nice.
Are you saying if any story starts with hold my beer or it's a Swedish tradition, just run the other way?
Absolutely. 100%. Just get out of there. Yeah.
So it was what year did they have the John Brzenk Cup in Gävle, Sweden, when John pulled I forget his name, they both tore their shirts off.
Oh, he pulled Dick Evers.
Dick Evers. What year was that?
Oh,
it was,
I don't know. Early 90s, early 2000, late 90s, early 2000s, there or thereabouts, I think.
Yeah, I was there for that, and that was an amazing trip. After the trip, I stayed with Giannis Omlins. We went over to Finland for another little tournament. It was a good time, but yeah, most people, when he pulled, John's there beating everybody, and now in the finals, he's got to pull Dick Evers, and this is the big one everyone wanted to see. Well, Dick Evers is, he's a pretty stout looking guy. So he comes up to the table and tears his shirt off. And he's like, like the Hulk, and I'm going to beat your ass, John. And John's like, whatever. He takes his shirt off. Like, he's like, all right, let's go. The whole crowd is going crazy. And of course, they arm wrestle and John wins, but, what an amazing trip. And, I spent that week with, Andreas Rundström. We went to a tournament the following week over in Helsinki, Finland. I mean, it was amazing times. That would have also been in I think you're late 90s, something like that.
And that was a bit Wild West. I mean, at that period of time,
yes,
there were so many small international tournaments going on. It was great. And the weird thing was, there wasn't so much around on the internet then. It was just that word of mouth and flyers and stuff.
Right. I mean, the only reason I knew, of course, is because I trained with John, and John was going, and he gave me a buddy pass to go, and we went,
I remember I'd signed up for, do you remember when they used to send out the Armbender magazine?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Freaking Armbender. And in the Armbender, you'd get your letter from the Armbender.
Yeah.
And it'd have a load of flyers in there. For different, that was how I got into coming over to the States, arm wrestling.
Yeah.
Because the Armbender would come and it'd be like, oh yeah, and you'd have like 6 or 7 flyers in there, and you'd be like, oh shit, what can I save enough money to get my ass over there in arm wrestling? Absolute magic. But there was no internet, so that was it, wasn't it?
That was it. I used to wait on postcards. I used to tell people the way to get involved in arm wrestling is you go to one tournament and then give everyone at that tournament your phone number and address, because they just mailed out flyers. Everyone just mailed out flyers. That's all it was,
Mm-hmm.
And, people need that philosophy, though, of trying to pull from the arm wrestlers within a 5-hour driving radius of your tournament. That should be the philosophy of every promoter, is just try to get people that are within a 5-hour driving distance of your tournament. Don't worry about people on the other side of the country, because you're never going to get them when you're only giving away a trophy, And of course with the internet, you put your tournament out there and everyone thinks that everyone should come to your tournament, even though they live on the other side of the planet. Still should come to my tournament, and it's crazy. But anyway.
But it's interesting because it did create a real family feel at all those events.
Yes, absolutely.
It really did. You could. I think there's still a degree of that in arm wrestling now. You lose touch a little bit with it, but there's so many events and you can choose from.
Yeah.
Big events. Sometimes you lose the romance of the small shows. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The internet's bittersweet. You know, I can remember going to the World Championships and seeing guys that I haven't talked to in a year and sitting down for long periods of time, having a beer and talking, really getting to know each other again and catch up. And now with the internet, you know, you walk by Ingen Tirsey and it's like, hey, Ingen, how you doing? Because you've talked to him 100 times on the internet. You don't.
Yeah, that's a really good point, mate.
To have a conversation, and I miss that because, I mean, I like talking over the phone. This is fun, you know. We can have a nice conversation, but I want to sit down face to face, have a beer, and you know, interact. You know, it's just I like that better.
Yeah, and the fun thing about that was that you always have a situation. I mean, a lot of those arm wrestling legend at that time, it would come from exactly the situation that you've just spoken about, where you'd get there. And it was almost like you were in the inner circle because you'd sit down, everybody would be like at reception in the hotel. You'd just be pockets, a congregation. And you'd almost move around. It's like it was like story speed dating, wasn't it? From different places. When you go to Worlds, you used to go around and say, and they'd be like, there is a guy. You know, I see. That's right. Yeah. And they'd like give you the lowdown on some dude that had been cracking, and he'd say, oh, he went to this tournament and beat this guy who you knew, and that had upped his rating and your status. Right. So by the time you got into the tournament hall on the Saturday and a Friday, everybody had been like piecing together, and you'd all be in the bullpen going up, and going, that's a bad motherfucker. Right. Because I know from this guy who was in reception, he told me all about it.
Do you remember it was a tournament in England? I'm gonna ballpark here and say 95, 96. Clive Myers put it on. Okay. And didn't pay out the money. There was a problem.
Sounds like the Gary Mason gig in around 95. Yeah, I do.
Cobra Rose was there. I was there. Sharon Ramez was there. Andre Brunstrom. Brian J. Yeah. So Gary the Mason's best part of the whole thing is after the event, we're all sitting in the hotel lobby having some drinks. Bar's open. We're just buying drinks at the bar. Everyone I just named is sitting there. You know, language barriers exist. We're all playing charades to try to communicate with each other. And they call last call at the bar. And Cobra's like, well, here, I'll get the last round, but I'm going to go upstairs and get a bottle. I got a bottle in my room. Well, then the girls from Italy went up and got some bottles of wine. I went upstairs and got a bottle of Jack. Someone else went upstairs, got a bottle of vodka. And the next thing you know, we're there until the sun's coming up the next morning, just basically talking, playing Pictionary to have a conversation. And it was like the greatest time in my life. It was just so much fun, you know, and of course Cobra sparked it all and we all got knackered, as they would say over there in England.
Yeah. Mate, that's how it starts. It's a slippery slope. It's funny, those revolving around and speaking to people about who's done what. I was once sat in a sauna with a load of Russian guys having vodka and salmon. Oh, don't even ask. We were in a sauna for about 3 hours with a load of Russian lads while they filled me in on the... that sounded dodgy, didn't it? Oh. While they filled me in. Not like that. It wasn't a prison experience any time. No, they were like telling me all about who was what in Russia. Yeah. They had a translator at that time, Misha. Do you remember Misha, the translator, Russian translator? Yeah. And he was going around all the Russian lads to fill you in on who was doing what in Russia. So it'd be like, oh, okay, this guy's won this event. And then you'd like go and feed that information out into the lads in your team. Okay, in the 110s, they've got this guy pulling. In the 75s, they've got this guy pulling, and this is how he wrestles. And it would like, you know, it was almost like an event before the event, you know.
Right.
And I think some of that has been lost. Oh. It's a shame, you know.
Now, I already told you guys the story about when we were in Russia at the Golden Bear, and after the tournament, this kid wanted to arm wrestle John, but they had to drink a bottle of vodka first.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it's the after party, and
drink a bottle of vodka.
Bottle of vodka. Jeez. And so they wanted to arm wrestle, and the drinking commenced. Then we were going to arm wrestle for a car. The winner, if John won, he was going to get this kid's car. Well, long story short, the entire bottle of vodka was not consumed, but there was enough consumed to mess us all up. John arm wrestled the guy, killed the guy. it was just a fun thing. We were like, let's get the car and we'll drive it around Russia and we'll wreck it and quick go to the airport, but none of that happened, but it was a great experience. And, the first time in Russia, of course, everyone knows who John Brzenk was. I had just moved to Utah. I already know who John is. And of course, we've gotten to be, better friends now, but I never really understood the impact of John around the world until that tournament. Because there was people of young age, this one girl in particular, she was a young teenager, and she had driven in from Siberia, which, look on a map from Siberia to Moscow, and you'll realize the intense travel that this girl spent a week to get there. And just to meet him and get his autograph, and that's just like one story.
That's
His presence would be like the Beatles showing up on concert day, or Michael Jordan just randomly showing up at a basketball tournament. It's amazing. It's unbelievable, And that was back in the early 90s. I mean, that was 94 or 5, whatever that was. It was amazing. And
it's awesome.
And he'd talk to everyone. He'd shake everyone's hand. He'd sign every autograph. He'd take every photograph. I mean, I don't know how the guy did it, and he still does it today. I don't know how he does it.
Very, very endearing, approachable, every man. And, you could want for more in that respect,
Absolutely.
Fantastic, and it's great to have, he's what an ambassador for our sport, that is. Your all-time greatest athlete is such a approachable individual. I think it's wonderful.
Yep.
He is. Ladies and gents, I've just noticed we're an hour and 5 minutes into this episode.
Oh.
That probably wraps up for this episode, but I hope you enjoyed this edition of Armwrestling Old School. I want to say a massive thanks to Bob Brown. Bob, thanks for taking your time out, mate, joining us on the show. And to Eric Roussin again. Eric, awesome. Great stories brought back a lot of good memories for me, that did, mate.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that show. Absolutely fantastic. And remember, we say it every time, guys, but the armwrestlingarchive.com, Eric has put so much work and endeavour into pulling this together, and it really is a phenomenal piece of work. Get yourself over there, check it out. You want to find out your facts and find out some of the history of the sport of arm wrestling, dating way back. That is the place to go. The armwrestlingarchive.com, all the work of this young man. Fellas, thank you so much for taking the time. Ladies and gents, this is your first visit to Supernatural Strength. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Let everybody know about it. Until we see you next time right here, take it easy, peeps. Lovely darts. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you. You guys have a great day.
Appreciate it.
What grabs your eyes on that, if anything?